Good evening and welcome. That was really downbeat, wasn't it? Sorry. Good evening and welcome
Deserved,
to
Ian. Deserved.
Yeah, it's going to be that way. Yeah, your Sunday night edition of This Is Ibrox podcast, where Rangers have yet again shot the bed. They've yet again disappointed us. They've yet again lost a big match. Stop me if you've heard this before. My name's Ian Mitchell, and we're going to go through the game, go through the manager's comments afterwards. We'll look at the scenes afterwards, where this leaves Rangers' season, if there's anything left to be salvaged, and just go from there. Really, like I say, it's going to be quite therapy session like here, but that's why we do it at this point. My name's Iain Mitchell. I'm joined by Hef and Tommy. We'll come to you first, Tommy. Just give us your reflections of how crap today was. Is the most basic way I'm going to start that off.
I hate that I love this team, Ian. That's my summary.
Right, cool. We'll see you next week. Yep. Yeah. In a way, and you kind of get used to this in a way, don't you? Because it's the same thing every time.
It's a familiar feeling, isn't it? It's very familiar.
Yeah. Yeah. It still hurts all the same. And Hef, we obviously were at the game today in the gantry. We were hopeful, I think, at one point. We were expecting other points, but in the end, just that word disappointment, which we'll use a lot tonight. It's the same old thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when I was asked if I wanted to go on the gantry, I'd said I'd like to do one game in the gantry, one game in the stand, if possible. They're both bad. There's no enjoyable way of watching this team play Celtic just now, unless you go to Parkhead in January. But the overriding feeling of today was just, is that it now? Is that just the last straw out the pack to just say, right, that's enough now. We're packing it in now till August, and I hate that feeling because we're going to obviously go into a run of fixtures here where lots of things can change and there's lots of movement in the table potentially, but I really just don't have any sort of enthusiasm about where we see ourselves in that. I was more enthusiastic to see that Motherwell get beat yesterday. That's how bad things are, is that we are clinging on to third place, which is criminal for Rangers.
Yep. And as I say, it's big picture wise, today was very damning, but we will go through it bit by bit. We'll start with the lineup because there's been a lot of talk with Danny Rohl, obviously, after the game and whether he's cut out for this, whether he should be sacked. Some people say, some people are saying leave him till the end of the season and then discuss, then sack him kind of thing. But I like the lineup. I'm not going to sit and change my opinion. I thought it was a good starting 11. Thought it made sense. Tommy, were you the same? Anything in there that surprised you? We obviously had Diomande come in. We had Jigger come in for Suter, which was the talk all week. So again, I liked it. What about you?
No, I was happy that Suter wasn't playing, to be honest. And I think even when Suter came on, it was only 15 minutes, and it was like bomb scare, and he might not have directly made a mistake, but it was like that way where it was kind of looking like he could have. So I'm not a big fan of Suter, so I was happy to see the Jigger come in. Diomande made sense to me. It suits him. Obviously, him getting the booking very early on kind of killed that for him. I don't really think he could have got into the game much because of that. I actually think Chukwueze came on and was probably the best sub that came on and played. Apart from that, I don't think I was too disappointed with anything else, really. Kind of very similar to how we were first half last week, which obviously we dominated that half. So I think as close to that team as we could have done was fine, to be honest.
Yep, I was just laughing at this comment that flagged up at the end there saying, we battered them, they're rotten. Sadly, so are we, because again, we'll come to this, and I think Hef, we talked about this quite a lot after the game, where Daniel's press comments was about, well, we dominated them, we had 26 shots, they had one shot.
Do you think that, I don't think we battered them.
No, that's what I'm coming to. That sounds okay, that sounds promising, but that's a negative for me, that you have 26 shots and can't score. Again, in the stadium, I didn't feel like we battered them. We had the better of the ball, had the better of the chances, but yeah, at no point I think we were kind of rallying through and battering them. I thought that was a bit of a stretch. We'll go into the game because I want to kind of cover off the game quite quickly here and talk about the stuff after it more. But Hef, we had a yellow card for Diomande very early on. We had that shout for the penalty, which I think we both agreed in hindsight wasn't a penalty. And Scales got a book in the first 20, 30 minutes. But it was very harem-scarum. It was very frantic. What was your impressions of the first 20, 30 minutes of that game?
Yeah, I don't think Don Robertson done himself any favours by booking Diomande in the first minute. I thought that straight away it meant then that every single challenge that was made was a call for a yellow card. And sometimes when that happens in the stadium, it actually works negatively, because if every single foul is a scream and a shout for a booking, 9 times out of 10 he's not going to give it. I thought the early part of the game, it looked as if we were in their half quite a lot. We were on the front foot. There didn't really seem to be much of a midfield battle, because they didn't have McGregor and we had two in there, and it just meant that everything was just kind of flowing over the top. So anything that was landing seemed to land with Negrin in the middle of the park from their end, and then anything that was landing in the middle of the park was just forced out wide. Quite a lot of success on the left wing with Romans and Moore. Not an awful lot of success on the right wing. Kind of avoided the right wing, if anything. So it meant then that the play was kind of forced very narrow, and Nadiri and Chermiti forced to play little chip passes, having to be inch perfect in order to get the run. And then even when we did get the run, Nadiri or Chermiti don't look particularly fast against the two centre halves for Celtic, who seemed to mop up quite well today. And we struggled. We struggled to break them down. We got into positions and we won. Moore did really well right at the start to run right through, and instead of just lashing it up the park, he's fell and took a bit of a foul. That was really clever. Chermiti's got a good foul at the edge of the box. There was quite a lot of shouts for whether or not that was a tackle that merited a card. Again, it's hard to tell from the gantry and watching it back again, like without having, if you're watching it on the telly, you're going to get 3 and 4 replays of it. It didn't look particularly bad from where we were, but we get the foul. Again, we don't really do anything from it. But yeah, it was good to see that we were pushing, we were on the front foot. It looked as if Diomande was the correct choice in there, because on the turn he was quite positive, he was going forward. But actually, in terms of turning that into something that was close to a goal scoring opportunity, was fairly limited in the first half, I would have said.
Yeah, I think it's very true, because Diomande loves that turn, and he usually players by it, so it gets some space, but he's then just not got any ability, craft, passing to make the next step and to do anything. You mentioned Scott Olsen there, and there was a comment that flagged up that, keep comments coming there flying in just now, but Scott Olsen, Tommy, there was a lot of fanfare when he came in. There was a lot of excitement of what he's done before and what he's done at similar levels. We saw a little bit of it against Kilmarnock. Don't think I've seen him kick a ball since. Hef said there, but we kind of avoided going down the right because Scott Olsen wasn't doing anything. Against Liam Scales, who, as I said, was on a booking very early on, you're thinking, right, go at him, try him, go by him, any more fouls and he might be off. Why is Scott Olsen? What's wrong with Scott Olsen? Is he just not up to speed yet, or just not good enough?
I don't know. I mean, I think we got more output on the right hand side from Stelling, in which we did, and from Scott Olsen going forward as well. I thought Stelling was probably one of the better players today when he was on the pitch. I had been really disappointed, and I think who was his debut against? Was it Dundee? And I think I remember, was it Dundee? I can't remember. I think I said at the time I criticised his performance, and everyone was like, calm down, first game needs time. But I was just a bit like, I just didn't see anything. And then I thought, right, we'll give him a bit of time. And then, the Kilmarnock goal, and you're thinking, right, hopefully he kicks on from there. Every game I've seen, he's I think the issue that I've got with him is that I like 1v1 wingers, and I think at times it's why I like Gassama, but he's not got the end product. So I think if you could get that Gassama with, I think Scott Olsen's actually got a good end product. He's got a good cross. He can cross left, he can cross right, but he can't take a player on, which is what frustrates me, I think. So when he gets the ball and he is 1v1, he doesn't have pace to take it by somebody. He might be able to make half a half a opportunity to cross the ball, but he won't actually take the ball by anybody, I don't think. Was there too much pressure? Not even pressure, but too much excitement about it all that we maybe expected something so much better than what we're getting? I don't know. Is he still going to come into it? But we can't be having that conversation because it's a 6-month loan. We need output. We need output immediately. We can't have a guy that grows into just getting 5 good games out of the split when the league's dead. If it will be dead at that point, who knows? At this point, I would stay away from signing him 100%, especially if it is going to be up in 7, 8, 9 million, whatever it's rumoured to be. I wouldn't touch him. But yeah, I think a game like today, I think you need to be able to take a man on because I don't think you get the space and time to have the luxury to do what he's good at. So I don't think it works against Celtic. But yeah, again, you kind of have to play him, don't you? It was a marquee kind of January signing. He's got to be in there. So, but yeah, again, what's the alternative as well? Gisama, that. You wouldn't have. I don't think he would have done great either. I don't think he'd done great when he came on. So, but no, I've been really disappointed in him. But again, can you put that down to he's not had a lot of minutes at Wolfsburg? I don't know.
And see, you probably can, right? Maybe we are being a little bit harsh because he's not played so much football, but he's up against a Liam Scales who at centre back is solid enough. He's not a Beckenbauer, but he's all right. Out of position at left back, and then you're looking at the rest of that Celtic defence, you're looking at the injuries they have. Skov Olsen and the rest of that team should have looked at Celtic's team and thought, oh, hello, right, no this player, no that player. Probably 5 or 6 first choice, first 11 guys they're missing, and Skov Olsen can't have any impact in a game like that.
But that's what I mean, though, because Scale, he's not going to outrun Scales. That's the thing, though. But Sterling can. That's how he got booked, because it was Sterling that got him the booking. It wasn't Olsen. So I wouldn't expect Olsen to then go and get him and take him on and get him another yellow or whatever. I just never really see him take anybody on like that. So, and Scales, I mean, he's. I wouldn't say he's a great defender, but he's solid enough. Like he's not like it's not like I'd say like Ralston, who you would expect maybe to take the ball round. But I think Scales is solid enough to kind of deal with it. But yeah, I think like we need to see more. But the season's running out. We can't be saying this every week.
Yep, it's very true. Hef, the only other thing that happened in the first half that I noted down, and you had more detailed notes than me, so if I'm forgetting it, let me know. Celtic score. Took a while to do the VAR check. We thought it was just the customary give them 2 chances to cheer kind of thing, but no, it was offside. I've seen the replay back and we get away with it a little bit, but it's offside. But other than that, at half-time, I don't know how I felt because I wasn't loving it, but it wasn't terrible. It was very 50-50. Just, it was a bit flat. I thought, what was your half-time reflections? It's a while ago now, but try and think back to then.
No, it's scarred into my memory. I can remember every sordid detail. I can't think of a chance that we had in the first half where I was like, good, that's us, we're kicking on. Yeah, you're right, that's the only other note I have was the disallowed goal, but it felt as if that was more likely to come than Rangers scoring, because the more time in the game that you've got possession in their half and do nothing with it. I had said to you after 15 minutes, I was like, we're doing quite well, but is this just a case of Celtic are just sitting in so that they can weather the storm? And then after that 15 minutes, they're going to push on here. I said, I'm quite worried about how things are going to progress. It then gets to like 25 minutes in and they start to break up the park a little bit quicker. And then from a set piece, they go on and do that. Now, obviously, he's offside anyway, but it's not Maeda that's offside. It was Scales that's been dubbed for being offside. Scales won headers all game. The whole back line won headers all game. But to win the header and yet again for nobody to follow in and get Maeda, Butland gets 2 hands on it and still doesn't take it out. It just screamed to me that sort of thing, like, we've got away with one, but we've also showed them how vulnerable we are and how close it could be just to one chance and they're scoring. So you can have as much of the ball as you want, but if you don't do anything with it, then you're as well just giving it back to them. And that's what we did last week in the second half, was where we don't have the legs to create anything, so we'll just smash it up the park. and hope it sticks, and it never did, and then it just comes straight back in waves. And today, actually, I thought the one saving grace in the first half was I was very anxious about Jigger. There was something about it where I was like, I'm not too certain about how he sits at the back, because he does have a bit of a slip in him, and whether or not it's a turn on the ball where he should just play it, or whether or not it's like a bit of a dodgy touch or whatever. I thought he was superb in the first half. He really controlled the game. Really seemed quite assured when he was passing the ball, which is something I didn't think he was particularly good at. The only thing I probably would have done going into the second half, if I was Danny Rohl, would have been to take out Skov Olsen and put in to swap out Skov Olsen for Gassama, and I would have swapped Diamande, which he had done, because at that point in time, with Diamande on the booking, it didn't really seem as if he had another 45 minutes in him where he couldn't have possibly given away another daft foul in the middle of the park.
He also had that kind of shoulder injury. He was kind of holding his shoulder, and then he fell down again holding it. So you can imagine there's something along with the booking, because I'd have had him off as well. Thought it made perfect sense. Tommy, we'll go into the second half. There was a couple of scrambles in the box that we could have scored from, a few very bad corners in there. We see this first subs that people are talking about. Skov Olsen comes off for Gassama, who came on at right wing and didn't know where to stand. He then did switch eventually with Bayrami, who came on for Mikey Moore. What did you think of those two subs in particular? Skov Olsen, I think, going off, most people would have took him off. He done nothing, as we said. But the Mikey Moore one, I wasn't too sure about this one compared to Nadiri, who looked more exhausted than Moore did. What was your reflections of that?
I can't believe Nadiri got 120 minutes today. That was baffling. Like, either Nadiri or Chermiti should have came off for Miovski at some point in that extra time, especially if Nadiri hit the fourth penalty, didn't he? But
there was a lot of comments saying the same about Miovski here. I'll just flash them up as you're talking. Yep.
Miovski would have hit a penalty, I'm pretty sure, anyway. Like, he's hit a few for us as well. So yeah, I mean, subs, Mikey Moore, he's always a guy you need to keep on into, because he's always that guy that in a game where there is, in my opinion anyway, there was very little quality on show today from both teams. For us, I thought the game plan was lump the ball in the box and hopefully the ball lands to somebody, like, kind of, like, luckily, you know, and we get a goal from it. But like, they were just mopping everything up that we were putting in, you know, and it was repetitive. And this is why you might have the impression that we battered them, because we put a lot of balls into the box, and we did have a lot of the ball in the final third, but we didn't. At one point, I'd have thought, we're not going to score from open play, but then the set pieces were also the set pieces were also just poor. I thought, I mean, there was a corner that Olsen hit that was awful. I think it trickled across the line. I don't know what that was. We continuously go short, obviously maybe to get a better angle to cross the ball in. I don't like it. I know we've scored some goals from it. I just personally don't like it when you have Fernandes in the box, who's a giant. So just put it in first time on his head. It's just not rocket science. But the only way I thought we were going to score was from that. Bajrami coming on, I wasn't mad at that, but it probably shouldn't have been for Mikey Moore. But I actually thought Bajrami, he wasn't awful. I mean, he had a few good moments. I don't think he was terrible, but it just seems weird to me that we've not really seen Bajrami, and then he comes on in this moment, you know, as well. So I'm not really sure, but I think you've got to keep Mikey Moore on, purely because my initial point before I went on a rant, actually, like, when there's a game of zero quality, Mikey Moore is that kind of guy that, even though nothing's really happening, he can give you that moment, you know, he can spin, he can turn, he can do something. So you take him off and you eliminate that part of it. So I was surprised that he came off, but again, we don't know, you know, he might be tired, I don't know, but he's had a week's rest, so he shouldn't be. I don't know if he took a knock or whatever, but yeah, I don't think Mikey Moore should have came off, but I don't necessarily think Bajrami done terrible either. Yeah,
although the standard is very low. I can't think of anything that good Bajrami done. But neither did Skov Olsen, neither did Nadiri, so it's not his fault. Hef, we did get the ball in the net. from one of those crosses. I think it was a corner, if I remember right, with Fernandes. You said it straight away. I think we both knew straight away that looks like a handball. I think he'd headed it.
Was that an
onto his
extra
hand
time
and-
or was that normal time?
The extra
Well, it was
time.
normal.
Was it extra time?
Fun.
All right, okay.
Nothing happened between then
No,
and
there
this.
was
We'll
nothing.
cover that. So I've not missed it, don't worry. But yeah, that went in. The stadium erupted, but there was a few of us looking at each other going, I think that's a handball there. Obviously it gets disallowed, but why is he not just headering it in? But how has he got that so wrong? Because as Tommy said, big boy, cross in, head the ball in. It should have been that simple. And there was 2 or 3 of those today that we should have done better with.
There was one chance in the first half where Fernandes headed the ball and it actually would have counted as a shot on target, but I think it's Jigger or Chermiti or somebody who's on the line again to
Yeah.
clear it off Fernandes. So that was kind of him to do that. And yeah, actually the other one was, there was a chance early on in the second half where Mikey Moore gets through and it kind of scaffs off one of their defenders and then he has another shot. I mean, the shots on target thing is stupid as an argument anyway because it didn't really do anything, but that was 2 times that we did have other shots on target, but obviously it was blocked by one of their players and then the other one was by our players. The reason why I'm bringing that up is the same thing happened at the corner. Was I don't understand why Fernandes goes up and heads the ball down into his hands and collects it, and then not even if that one you're going, okay, well maybe there's a bit of debate as to whether or not it does actually. It's his hands that it hits. Then it's Chermiti just punches it into the back of the net. When you watch it back, like it's Chermiti's handball as well. I can't for the life of me figure out how a few people in the comments have made the same comment, is that Scott Fry, when he first came in, you wouldn't have known he was there. Then after 2 or 3 months, you start to see loads of goals for set pieces. Fernandes gets more minutes. You start to believe in the idea that this is something that we're really working on, and if we can't score goals through open play, this is the next thing that we're going to go on to. It just seems to have went completely off the boil. He comes out at every set piece, every single set piece, whether it's a throw-in, whether it's their fouls, whether it's direct free kicks, indirect free kicks, corners, their corners, any single time it's a set piece. Anywhere on the park, he runs out and directs people where to go. I don't know whether it is just this idea that maybe it's like being overcoached to the point where players are being kind of robots and being taken out rather than just having the ambition just to go, right, put the ball in the centre spot and I'm going to come up and attack it. I'm Emmanuel Fernandes. I'm 9 foot tall and I could probably win a header in there if you put in a decent delivery.
I said 8 foot, maybe I got it wrong.
He wears heels at the weekend. But if you're that sort of player and the delivery is always, and the other thing as well about it is the person taking the set piece rotates far too often for me. If Tav's not going to play, there needs to be somebody else that can step in and say, on the right hand side for the corners, I'm going to be the one that's the in swinger, and vice versa for the left. It doesn't seem that way. It seems like Scott Wilson comes in, smashes it across the ground, or he passes it to Mikey Moore and then gets it back and hits in a lacklustre cross right at the front post. There doesn't, like, what we saw initially from the working of Scott Fry once he had got his feet under the table just seems to have fell by the wayside, and it might be a really unfair criticism. There might be a good reason for that, but it seems as if our cards are being marked now with the only avenue that we had for scoring goals, and the fact that the disallowed goal was brought back for the handball was, I mean, if you can see it, the way that I always think about it is, if it looks that way from the stand in real time, then it's almost always going to be given when they look at it and back in a replay. So I half expected it, but yet again, another push to show that if you think that the first half, their disallowed goal was something for them to think we could still do this, given the fact that it had went into extra time and that had happened, you think to yourself, they're vulnerable now. We can, if as long as we do that again and somebody doesn't jump in and try and use their hand to get it in the back of the net, we could be in a good position here to get another goal. But it didn't really seem to go that way.
No, we actually lack that a lot of ways. And I think I ranted about this last Sunday, so there'll be a bit of repetition here. But last week I was talking about how we don't have like clever players that wind the clock down or kind of give away the daft fouls. Today we don't spot opportunities because Liam Scales gets booked in the 30th minute. We don't run at him again. We have that corner, and for that one that Fernandes does bundle in, he's getting marked by James Forrest. Now, James Forrest has been good for Celtic over the years, of course he has, but he's not going to win a header against Fernandes. You know, I can spot that. So we should at that point be going, right, let's just get a free kick, get a corner, because if we do that again, as you've just said, you'll probably win the header. Like, we just don't seem to have that on the park leadership. And I've started a few comments for later about leadership mentality. Don't worry, that's coming as well.
But see, to touch on, Hef was saying, like, you get momentum from that. That was the first half of extra time, yeah?
Yeah, 99
minutes. So then at half time he goes and throws Suter on. Like, I think that killed it, man.
That was baffling, but that in itself was absolutely mental. Nadiri and Chermiti were on their knees, and it looked to me like we were all right in that position, and then all of a sudden we bring on a centre half to basically nearly gift them a goal after 2 seconds of being on the park.
See, when he came on, right, every fan had that kind of why Suter coming on, but he just brought so much nervousness to the stadium. Obviously, fans are a bit nervous themselves, seeing him, knowing he has been quite bad for an error. I'm pretty sure I saw in a couple of different group chats, that'll be the error then when Suter comes on. He played like he got that text as if he knew that it was coming, because he was shaky, passing out the park, going backwards every time. Why are you changing your centre back with 15 minutes to go? And I am going to defend Danny Rohl at some point tonight, I'm sure I am, because I think it's more players than Danny Rohl. A lot of people don't, I get that. But that decision, when you've got Mairovsky there, who would have a point to prove, would be a bit of a danger man in around the box. He's not the fastest, but he would be fresh against some tired Celtic defenders. That's the most obvious sub I could have seen. Maybe Jigga was injured, maybe we're missing something, but he looked fine to me. So again, do not understand. And again, what we come on to then, of course, is the penalties. I said something to Hef in the stadium, Tommy, excuse me, where the Celtic fans were all up and all singing, and they're an away end, so you're going to be a bit more rowdy than the home end. But they were excited for the game, not ending, but they were getting behind their team and stuff, whereas all the Rangers fans, us included, were nervous. We just know bad things happen to us. Do you think that's actually a thing, or is that just pessimistic? Because you put a text, I remember you get the text off you saying Butland saves penalties constantly in the game. I bet he gets nowhere near any of these, and lo and behold, didn't even nearly save a single one of those penalties.
I don't even think he dived the right way for any of them. Maybe one of them. But
which was also the case when we lost penalties last time.
Yeah. But do you know what I thought as well? Like, I mean, their penalties were their penalties were decent enough, yeah. So they were kind of confidently kind of hitting the penalties. But then, see, even the ones we scored in, I thought they were poor penalties as well. So even like Nadiri's was all right. I suppose at least he got it in the corner, but I still thought that was savable as well, to be honest. And then Bajrami's was lucky. It goes underneath the keeper. Keeper guesses the right way. Tav, I don't get his penalty because he's just smacked it off the bar in the middle of the goal. For me, Tav is good at penalties, picking a spot and like left or right.
His own head, because he obviously knows he usually goes to the goalie's right. Do you think he's going, well, he knows I'm going to go that way, so I'm just going to hammer it? And
I know, but Tav should be, in my opinion anyway, right? Tav should be like, I know how to put the ball right in the corner regardless, yeah? So even if the keeper guesses the right way, it doesn't matter if he guesses the right way, because I think he scored 77 penalties for us, right? So the guy should know, yeah, that he's... I think that's what they said on comms, might be wrong.
Of course, that came from absolutely nowhere. That's just like ball knowledge and fair play.
I was watching from home the day. I think they said that on commentary. I might be wrong, but yeah. If you've hit and scored that many penalties, you should be comfortable enough, to be able to pick a corner and hit it with enough pace. Doesn't matter what the keeper's up to. But then, yeah, from there, and then that just sets it, doesn't it? Your captain goes up first, misses. Stadium is quiet, everybody's fearing what's coming. And like I say, Butland, who's very, very good at saving penalties, we've seen that. He's saved so many for us this season, doesn't get near it. So, what is the deal with that? It's just like, it's an institutional that we are like, just this is the way that it is at Rangers now. That's the way it seems like, and we need to get away from it. We need to kind of cut this section of time, and move on and start being winners again. But you don't get it by weak penalties or like your captain going up first and missing hitting the bar. So there's plenty of ways that you can have it in your favour. We had the crowd behind us. We won the toss for that. We chose to hit first. So everything was set up for us to be in a good position to go on and hit 5 good penalties. At least I thought.
And Hef, how influential do you think that is when Tav misses the first one? Because we watch penalty shootouts all the time. You see a player miss, it's not game over. There's still 8 or 9 penalties at least to come there. But when Tav misses, I think, obviously, as Tommy said, we were at our Rangers end for the penalties. We went first for the penalties, but it just felt like that set the tone a little bit. Obviously, got the Celtic fans up straight away, and the pressure was just ramped up even more on us, on Butland, on the players that were coming. Do you think that's a massive impact?
Yeah, like Tommy's just said, you expect the leader to go up there, and there's no point in analysing penalty kicks and who hit it where and why they did this and why they did that. It's nonsense, because the one thing and the only thing that you ask from any penalty taker is that you just pick a side and hit it on target. The only thing that you can't really forgive is players that come up and like miss the target or try one of these wee dink shots or something, like a what are they called again? A Panenka.
Panenka,
If someone tries like a Panenka or something like that, and that's embarrassing if it gets caught. For me, the one with Tav, as you said, we've all known him to hit it low and hard, or sometimes he does that one where he hits it right in the middle. If that's the captain who's saying, "I'll watch me, I'll take the ball, I'll take the first one, and I'll settle the nerves," it goes in the other way of your favour when you go in and just smash it over the bar. It basically just plays right into their hands. So the fact that their next taker was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, their first taker, who is obviously a class player of previous years, but he's been getting a bit of stick, and he just comes and it's like, "Nah, I'm here, I'm going to take it." So it's like a complete negative reaction for us and a massively positive one for them, because they're going, "Oh no, I know him, don't get to him and he scores," and our pin on goal scoring penalty taker misses. So straight away it just sets the bar for what you're in for.
Yep. We do score the next one. Barami steps up. Again, I felt quite confident with him. He obviously done it at Dundee United as well. Nadiri's just about gets in. I know, Tommy, you said it put it in the corner. Didn't look like the corner to me, but it went in, so who cares? Then Gassama steps up. Now, I've watched Gassama a lot this season. He's good at dribbling. Can't kick a ball. Can't shoot. Why is he anywhere near that when you've got... Again, I don't know if Raskin would be a great shout at this point, but Chermiti should be hitting one for me.
See on Raskin, Ian. See on Raskin, right? Before you go into your leadership chat, right? see Raskin. He can go very far away, because
say it properly.
You got some stick last week for digging out Raskin, so please continue.
No, because I think that the stick I got for digging out Raskin was that I had said he was the only consistent player, in the fact that he was consistently pushing the first half and the second half.
Yes.
Again, he's managed to do that again, but he's managed to extend it by another 35 minutes this week, so that's even better. Nico Raskin needs to stop going to the stands and asking for fans to clap and cheer for pish on the pitch. He needs to lead by example and give the fans a reason to cheer. So see this waving your hands, come on the Rangers, let's get it going. We're woeful. That's the difference that's why we're not shouting for them. For the same man who's happy to ask for the fans to do so much, he then doesn't put his name forward to go out and take a penalty. He allows Bajrami, who's barely kicked a ball all season. He allows Nadiri, who's obviously only just in the door. He allows these players to go forward. Gassama, who's not a striker of the ball. I think Raskin needs to have a hard look at himself if he thinks he's Mr. Rangers, captain, all these sorts of things. He needs to have a long, hard look at himself for not stepping in there ahead of Gassama.
Yeah, I think that's fair. As I said, that we were talking with Alistair of follow as the penalties were getting they were deciding who's hitting them, and we both said to each other, well, Gassama's definitely. I think you have a list of definitely taken, you have a list of definitely not taken, and you're thinking, well, Magoma won't hit one, Gassama shouldn't hit one, but yeah, didn't like seeing him step up. He obviously misses, and then I say his name wrong, but that Celtic striker goes up and scores 4 out of 4 for them, the team that are used to winning things, the team that win trophies. And you then look at our team. Who of that team have won anything? I think Chukwani won one league out in Austria, but he's still a young player. Butland hasn't won anything. Raskin hasn't won anything. Nadiri, Jigger, Romans, Fernandez. There's not a winner in that team. 1 or 2 have won 1 or 2 trophies, but do you think that's what it came down to today, Tommy? Just a team that could handle the high pressure moment against a team of trophyless players?
I don't know. If you look at their squad today, they would have had a lot of players on there as well that were maybe similar, and they hadn't won a lot as well. I think
takers, but think of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's won a Champions League. Yeah. Scales, he's won the league. Trusty has won the league. Sankara, God knows, don't really care. But he's a striker who should score his penalties. So it's 4 guys who, on paper, you would favour over ours, mindset-wise. I think.
I think I've said this for years now. It seems like, but when the going gets tough, we don't want anything to do with it. And then when it gets like pressure off, we can win a game that doesn't really mean anything. We're all over it, aren't we? We love it. We start playing. We start performing.
Yep.
So this week was completely damaging, by the way. But from half time last week to now, so damaging for this season. Like, you can't go back-to-back games at home at Ibrox against your biggest rival and come away the week after, nothing to show for it. Absolutely nothing to show for it. And you look at the Celtic team today, awful. Yeah, on paper, awful. Yeah, I think we're awful as well, yeah, but I think we had a slightly better team on paper at least, and we should have won the game. We should have found a way to win the game. But that's it, Ian. And you think over the years we've changed managers, yeah, we've changed players, and still the same old. So what does it come down to? I have said the only thing that hasn't changed over the year is the captain. It's not the captain. A new captain doesn't come in and magically we start winning, yeah? Maybe, I don't know, but I don't think so. But that's the only thing that has been a constant in all these years is the captain. It's the only thing that's kind of stayed the same, But we've tried this approach of change of managers, players, whatever, Let's say, when does it all end? What do we do to get out of it? It's a mentality thing, though, 100%, if that's what your question was. It's 100% mentality, yeah.
Can't remember what I asked. But
there is no leaders as well. Like, you're right.
Well,
and like Raskin as well. Raskin will never control a game the way that... I don't think McGregor's a particularly good game, but McGregor will control a game, like even not on the ball, just off the ball, dictating and stuff like that as well. So they've got guys that will do that. I don't think we do, really, to be honest.
It's lead me back to these 4 comments I started earlier, which are all saying sort of the same, but in slightly different ways. If I bring up, I was going to say Paul, but Polly Walnuts, first of all. These names get weirder every week. I don't know how many times people need to say it and be heard. It's a leadership issue, and it has been for years. Got out the usual suspects who control that mentality. Tav, Suter, Raskin, Butland. Again, I agree with every single word there. James had put, we've got 0 leaders in the squad. We'll likely finish 4th. Only positive today, Suter was dropped, and not surprisingly, basically until he came into the end. One from Scott. Daniel's tactics are so poor he's found out. Now, believe me, never a Rangers manager. This is the alternative view, and I think that's why I'm linking two together. Is this Danny Rowe's fault as well, or is it all just players? Hef, what's your stance for that? Because that's what I've seen a lot of on Twitter, but when Rangers drop points, when we lose games, it doesn't matter who the manager is, they're going to get it in the neck. Is that just part of this thing right now?
I think that Danny Rowe's been found out a little bit of recent, because when Danny Rowe first came in, they asked him what style of play do you prefer to play with, and he had said, "I'm not interested in style of play. I want to win games of football." Now, naturally, what happens is once you've got your foot in the door, you start to win games. You then start to implement your style bit by bit, and I think that's what we're seeing with the 4-2-2-2 formation that seems to be bled in. Now we're at a point where that seems to be the formation, and it seems pretty likely that it's going to be the formation for the rest of the season. And it gets found out fairly easy. The two strikers up front, for me, both of them shouldn't be playing alone. Like they do need another player up with beside them, but I don't think either of them work well together like that. Like I don't think Nadiri and Chermiti work well. It needs to be somebody who can maybe play off him. So maybe playing Mikey Moore up there off one of the other strikers, and then introducing another winger would be a better idea, or another kind of inverted winger that can come in and play in the 10 as well and drift out wide when needed. So when you look at when he first came in, it was very strong, it was very stable. We weren't battering teams away necessarily, but we were getting the job done, and it was tidy at the back, and it was we were getting the goals from the corners and stuff. I'm worried now that if this is what we're going to go and invest money in to come and see next year as this 4-2-2-2, and it's going to just need personnel, then maybe the personnel will work. You know, like the person, maybe once he's got the people that he wants for that formation, it'll work. And he's tried to get them in winter, and he's maybe just been a couple of players short, because I think Chukwani and Romans fit that formation perfectly well. But I just think that the striker position is just they don't marry up for me. I don't want to go back to the days of like a Purso and Novo, where it's like we need a big man, wee man kind of combo. But I think you need somebody with a bit of legs who, if the ball is going to go in behind, can chase it, and you also need a big guy up there who can win the headers. The problem is that neither of them are particularly quick, and against every sort of partnership that matches them for height, they don't seem to win a lot of headers either. So the other thing that you would think of is like, well, at least they're clinical when they're in the box, and they're not. So it's a difficult one. The question was whether or not Danny Rowe was somewhat to blame. Danny Rowe could have still played the formation that made us difficult to beat and kept us quite hard in that hardened formation, that it was really hard to break us down. But now that we're playing the 4-2-2-2,
sorry, I dropped my mic there.
Oh God, try to be professional here.
I know.
Sort yourself out.
I thought somebody was doing a tombola.
I'm good now, sorry.
But that thing of like, if Danny Rowe's going to be in this position now where he's going to go for it, you know, like this is the tactic and this is how we're going to start, then that is on him.
Shut up.
I'm not bringing that comment up. You can look at that in your own time.
But no, for me, it's a little bit harsh, because some of the other comments are right in what they're saying. I can't remember who it was that put it up, but he has inherited a poor team, and he can only do so much in the winter break. So yeah, we do need to cut him a bit of slack, but it does seem to me that like he did really well at bringing in the players and keeping us hard to beat and picking up the results and doing really well and going on that good run. And then the minute he started to tweak with the formations, we got found out pretty easily. So maybe there is a bit of blame to lie at Danny Rowe's door, and then maybe there's a little bit of, well, a large part of that blame needs to come from the fact that there aren't enough of the players who are taking on the responsibility of seeing through a league or a cup or any sort of run that will enable us to pick up some sort of silverware, because we are just bottle merchants. The team don't know what it takes to get to that final leg, and that's what we had spoke about when we were walking back to the car. Is even their players that aren't playing, they're in the full tracksuits, they're walking about, they're in the players' ears, they're coaching them through the game as like experienced professionals of playing in the Premier League and winning the Scottish League and doing all this sort of stuff. We've not got that. Like, we're missing that. We've either got players like Butland, who's experienced but hasn't won anything, or you've got Tav, who's won things for us but not nearly enough. And then Raskin, who thinks he's this superhero in the middle of the park, Mr. Rangers, but again, he's not really won anything either. We need people in. You think of the team that won the league: Davis, Defoe, old heads who could come in, McGregor. Like, these sorts of players came in and were just like, this is what it takes to win for Rangers. Right now, it's like we're getting told off as fans for being angry that after 50 minutes we were quiet when Celtic scored. You're like, yeah, that's what happens. You're going to need to, you're going to need to match. You're going to need to match our expectations, not the other way around. So yeah, for me, Danny Rohl can't be too much to blame. But what he does need to do is go back to what he had done when he first came in and make us hard to beat for these next 9 games, and hope that we can salvage enough points in the first 3 games to enable, like, before we go into the split, that we're still in some sort of contention.
Yep. We'll come to what will probably overshadow the game itself. It took us long enough to get here. The scenes at the end of the game, I'll come to these both because obviously Hef, we were at the game, we were on the gantry, kind of bird's eye view of everything that played out. Tommy, you saw it from home. The way I saw it is that Celtic won. Their fans came onto the pitch at the same section that the fans came onto the pitch when they scored their offside goal. So, please maybe take a note that was going to happen. Still on the pitch, again, it's going to happen, but they then start goading Rangers fans, as far as I could tell. A lot of, this and whatever, all that crap. That's not going to be allowed at Ibrox. Rangers fans are going to go on, defend their stadium, defend. For me, that was kind of naturally going to happen, as I say. I thought the policing today from start to finish was insane. Hef, we walked to the game about, an hour before kickoff, in amongst a couple of Celtic fans that were walking as well. No trouble, but that was strange considering I was at Parkhead in January, shuffled into a stadium at 10 o'clock in the morning and didn't see another Celtic fan until they came in the stadium. So I thought that was weird. And then we see videos even before the game of Celtic fans busting through turnstiles, pushing stewards out the way, and just rampaging their way through. We saw the graffiti that was in the stadium, chairs getting smashed, all that stuff. And yet it's the bad old firm fans. I'm going to be biased, obviously, but those are facts. And it was very much in my eyes, Celtic fans causing a lot of bother, which then had to see a retaliation. Tommy, I'll come to you first. What did it look like from the TV? Have you seen things that we haven't seen, angles that we've not seen? What was your take of the chaos that happened at full time?
Yeah, so obviously, first of all, seen the videos kind of emerging of them breaking through the turnstiles, obviously, like trying to double up when they're scanning their tickets. But, I mean, it happens, doesn't it? But probably just not in that mass number where it's becoming a policing issue, And it was pretty obvious that they were doing it. But I've seen photos now, the way that they've left the Brimley seats broken. I think the advertisement boards have been kicked over. I've seen a lot of all the graffiti. The graffiti's horrible. Some of the things that they've put. Maybe I sound woke by saying it. I don't know, but it's pretty horrible.
No, there's lines. Like I'm quite an old school fan, right? I don't mind what people sing. Singing doesn't hurt people. Graffiti, that again, you're going to get some graffiti. I guess it's normal, but things that you graffiti, it's like the guy last week that was holding the phone up with the numbers. I just don't understand how that still happens in this day and age. I just don't get that.
I mean, I wouldn't, like, personally, I would never be in their stadium or our stadium and look at their fans and think, oh, they had some sort of disaster, I'm going to bring it up. Like, I don't see what you get out of it. But for me, then, when they went onto the pitch at full time, number one, I was thinking, well, why? You know, like I didn't understand what's a pitch invasion. You know, I mean, you've won at Ibrox before. I don't get it. For me, you don't get to come to Ibrox and do all that and get away with it. So I don't mind the reaction from the Rangers fans just defending the stadium in general. The police, for me, have to sort that out. They shouldn't be allowed. Like, it shouldn't be allowed on the pitch. From then, the Rangers fans coming on and obviously making it clear, like, you don't come to Ibrox and get to do all that. And to be honest, they should never get the broom on the game, cup game, league game.
Oh, they won't
that,
now.
that just
done.
shouldn't happen. They can't behave. I'm sorry, but they can't. They came in, they can't behave. From the TV, watching it on the TV, you could just very quickly see it escalating, yeah? You could see them on the park, and then you could kind of, the commentator was saying, oh, there's Rangers fans now running onto the park, and then progressively you could just see more players, and then you could see kind of staff members taking their players off the park. They were trying to celebrate with their fans. It was a messy, you know, but there has to be, like you said, the police have to deal with this, you know? How are the police just allowing it? I get like a mass number of people running on, it's hard to control, but there should be enough police and stewards there to prevent that happening in the first place, really, to be honest. But it paints a bad picture on the game now, doesn't it? And we're talking about it rather than talking about the game, really. It's a big talking point, really, is that happening? I went on Twitter and all I'm seeing is like fans from other pages, like not affiliated to Rangers, Celtic or Scottish football, commenting on that and not the game. So that's a position we're in now. Don't like to see it, but I don't hate the Rangers fans coming on and trying to get them off the pitch. I say you can't come to Ibrox and disrespect it like that, you know? You won the game, celebrate. Let your fans, let the players come up and goad or whatever you normally would do, the same way we were at Parkhead. You don't see us running on the park, do you know what I mean? So, just that's my opinion of it, you know?
Yeah, no, I think everything you said is very fair. Hef, as I say, in the stadium felt a bit different. We obviously have that gantry view, so you kind of see it all unfolding, you see it escalating. What, any additional thoughts to add to it? Anything Tommy missed out for you?
I thought that you could actually see it coming, because when Celtic scored the disallowed goal for Maeda, now don't get me wrong, I think when you're at the front and obviously all the fans kind of surge forward, the only natural place to go is out onto the front on the track and the front bit, right? I totally get that.
Yep.
That's not me saying, well, Rangers or Celtic fans should just get squashed and just let people pile on top of them. Naturally, the doors, that's the first thing that would open, as if people are running and pushing forward, right? I get that.
Yep.
But they spill out and they're on the racetrack. They're on the track, sorry, the racetrack. They're on the track round the side of the pitch. Then when Rangers scored, the same thing happens with the Union Bears, is that they push forward and they're on the track. It happens all the time. It happens at away games. It happens everywhere. The problem then lies is that, like we said earlier on, was at half time, all the stewards stand round about as if people are going to run on at half time.
Yep.
At the end of the game, they all stand around and they make sure that this is going to happen. See if you know that it's getting to the point where it's getting to the end of the game. Like, why were the police not out there in place of the stewards? The stewards aren't getting paid pennies. Most of the people who are these stewards are people who they have to take on these jobs because it's universal credit. They're like, there's no interest in doing these jobs well. So if a Celtic fan or a Rangers fan was to run at them, they'd be like, aye, on you go. Because they're getting paid buttons. They're not going to stand there. The problem then lies is that if you're out on the track bit, to then take it over and actually go onto the pitch is different. When they're on and they're engaging with the fans and with the players and everything else, the players need to take some responsibility to say, get off the pitch.
Yeah.
You're this one fan, two fans maybe, you go, right, aye, very good, away you go. But like somebody's put in the comments, is everybody's in this position where it's like, you go on, then they're taking pictures, they're celebrating, they're doing all this stuff, and then when we had spoke to, when we were listening to, what do you call it, Martin O'Neill in the press conference, he's saying, oh, you know, we got a bit overzealous, we celebrated, that's okay, were we on the pitch when the Rangers fans came on? You're like, yeah, you were, because the Celtic fans had went up far too long. It's like, oh, I wasn't too sure of that. And you watch the video back, he's not doing anything to actually try and get a lot of the coaching staff, the Celtic coaching staff, and a lot of their officials ran out and they were telling the fans to go away. But none of the players or their actual immediate coaching staff, they were all just engaging in the party, and I get that too. I understand that that's part and parcel of it, but the volume of them that were allowed to come on before the police actually intervened was
Yep.
was wild. Like, and it could have been so much worse. That guy who did that mad Spartan kick, he's no sleeping tonight, man. He's gonna have the biggest smile on his face for the rest of his life. But
he's going to be a stuntman in the next movie or next Marvel movie, isn't he?
See, when I saw the video, I was like, I don't know how somebody's captured it to get it so perfect, but you would never let that lie down. But for me, it's one of those things. As soon as I saw it unfold the way it did, I was like, this is just another one of these things that's going to be a shame game. Old Firm fans ruin the game of football. We won't have this. We won't have that. I think it's stupid. Like, if you can't go to the game, like you said, Dean, sing songs, wind people up, have a belter. But the fact that once the game's then done, to then run onto the park and stuff, I never understand it, because half of these people end up getting caught on camera and lose their jobs and all these sorts of things. It's just never really worth it. But I suppose they're still going to keep doing it, even if we do let them in, whether it's the back to the wee slice in the corner or whether it's the full Broomlin stand.
I think it's done. I think you'll see the blackout ban again, to be honest, because
I
this is all
think
the
they'll
games
just go
talk
back
about.
to being in the nets, won't they? Like the safety nets. I think it'll just go back to that.
I hope so. But as I say, it's going to be all the talk, all the newspapers, the government will talk about it, it'll be everywhere. They're going to need to be like oh no, look, the police have I've made a statement kind of thing. They've done something after doing nothing during the actual incident. We've just about got time to look at Danny Rohl's press conference comments.
Great.
He got asked about mentality a lot. He deflected a few of those questions. He didn't agree with them. He said the players made a promise to one another and that they're going to treat the last 9 games as cup finals. Quite ironic. Me and Hef are saying that you get knocked out of a cup and now start, trying, and kept reiterating the whole 26 shots to their 1. Tommy, what did you watch the press comments? Have you seen it, or what did you make of those comments? Is it just?
I watched it back before we came online.
Professional, love that.
Thank you. I like to be prepared. You know me. I don't like all this like chucking stats in your face after getting beat. I don't like that, because you got beat. So who cares if you had 26 shots? You mentioned that earlier, Ian. Who cares?
Yep.
For me, like, they can say all they want, right? The players can say all they want. They can say, oh, it was 9 cup finals, right? You can't beat Celtic 2 games at Ibrox. You're not going to go to Parkhead in the split game when it really means something and win. You're not going to go into the split at Tynecastle when it really means something and win a game. It means nothing to me. I don't care if it's 9 cup finals. If you can't win these 2 games the last couple of weeks, you're not going to go into the split and win the games. And you might say, oh, well, we won at Parkhead before. Different, yeah. Different for 2 reasons. Different manager.
Different Celtic. Yeah.
And also, my stat that I bring up a lot, we've never beat Celtic in a split game at Parkhead. So these players are not going to do it. They're not capable of doing it. We see that now. We know that now. We see with the silly draws that we've had over the last couple of weeks as well. It's not going to happen, So that's it now. So yeah, he can say what he wants. He's going to defend himself, isn't he? He's going to defend the players. He's going to say, "Oh, we were so good. We had 26 shots. They had nothing." Like so. I don't think it's going to end well, really, to be honest. But I think he'll get next season. But I don't know. Like I say, I think it's gone down the route of come on.
Yeah, it's too similar. Great start, get us back into title race, and then the players shit the bed. Again, it's not just the players; it is again a collective thing. Of course, as Hef, obviously, you were with me in that press conference. He said about dominating the game. He said about. He backs the team. He sees them improving every week. He sees the style improving every week. Is that just nonsense? Or do you see any improvements week to week? I know it's a very stupid question after talking about a game for an hour, but Do you see what he's trying to get across there?
I don't know what he's referring to when it comes about style, because take Mikey Moore out that team and there's very little style. The Romans is a good player. He seems very tidy, but style, I mean, that's harsh. I don't see that. I don't see the fluidity of what it is that we're trying to get at with the idea that 26 shots with no converted goals is something that you can like be positive about. I think it seems a bit of a stretch. And even when he's asked on mentality, he's like, "Oh, mentality again." And you go, "Yeah, again," because we're seriously lacking it. We're lacking somebody to take reins, and also given the fact that Danny Rohl's a very calm person, very like measured and calculated. Sometimes we need the mentality to come from him, and sometimes I think that he's obviously obviously.
You're a nightmare,
Just wait till we get off.
Just meet yourself. You're done for the night anyway. Don't worry.
But no, it's poor. I felt like that was probably the worst press conference that I've attended that he's spoke at, because it just seemed so mundane in a game that was particularly disappointing. There didn't seem to be a sense of like anger, and there also didn't seem to be a sense of remorse. It just seemed to be like well, they dust themselves off and go on to next week, and you go, you don't appreciate just how raging people are that we've had two games at Ibrox and you've not won any of them. That's rank. But in terms, hey, I'll tell you something in terms of style. These T-shirts from 1872 are very good style. We plugged there for 1872. But
Link in bio.
Link in bio.
Yes.
If they can make me look good, which they do, then they're worth buying. So check them out, 1872 Studio Clothing.
Like that. That's probably the most positive way we're going to end this tonight, because it's been a rough day, as always is with this damn football club. But thanks everyone for joining us. It's as always been very therapeutic. I'm sure you'll find it the same. Make sure you're liking the videos. Make sure you're subscribing. We'll be back on Tuesday night with some more hope, hopefully. Maybe I've slept on it a couple of nights. Things might be slightly clearer, but we shall see. So thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you on Tuesday. And until next time, good night.